Hey folks, I'm Becca and I talk too much, and this week we're going to do something a little different. I need a quieter video this week. Recently I've had a bout of 3-day migraines, one per week for the past few weeks. They're really taking it out of me, and that means my anxiety brain is dialed up to 11. And for some reason, I have had a remix of Full Metal Alchemist theme songs stuck in my head for the past 72 hours. So we're not going to be doing anything super deep today. We're saving that for next week when I can truly get into it. Instead, we are going to be continuing our slow living talk, but focusing very much on reading. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I am trying to live a slower, more purposeful life, and you'll also know that a big part of that is reading. I have always been an avid reader, largely thanks to my grandfather reading things like Lord of the Rings to me whilst I was 5. Nothing like the memory of lying in bed, picturing Legolas prancing over snow as a 5-year-old to make you a reader. And I love my books. I will read most genres. I will give anything a go. I don't like not finishing a book that I start. See my previous video on why that's not always a good thing. But I have found as I've got older and life has got busier that I have been reading less, which is why I did my previous video on how to read more with ADHD or other loud brains. And it's not just about finding time, it's finding the right headspace. And that's why I think reading is such a core part of my version of slow living. It is finding that time to put your phone down and curl up with a book and just be and experience another world and other characters quietly in your own time. So, since I already did a video on how to read more, I'm basically going to give you proof that it works today. We're going to take a look at my have read / currently reading list and give you another bonus tip. You'll have heard me refer to upstairs books and downstairs books in my previous video, and later in the video I will be explaining what I mean by that and how that enables me to read more, find more time to read, and stay engaged with the books I'm reading. But first off, a little review of my pile of books over here. If you've read any of these, I would love to know your thoughts on them. I love having a good chit chat about books, so drop into the comments. Likewise, if you've got any recommendations when you see what I've been reading, I am all ears. Give me recommendations for books. My local bookstore can't get enough of me anyway. These are all books that I was reading or have read since my video on how to read more with ADHD. So this is proof that those tips do work. And if you're looking to read more, it is well worth checking out that video. Give it a go. So first up, this book I was actually just finishing when I made that video. This was a Christmas present. It's A Stroke of the Pen, The Lost Stories by Terry Pratchett. And I am a massive Terry Pratchett fan. Nation has got to be one of the best books ever written, in my humble opinion. And I do think everyone should read the Discworld books to be better people generally. I think I would seriously make them part of the curriculum if I was in charge of education. If we want good little humans, we want them to learn about Sam Vimes and Granny Weatherwax. Just saying. But this is not Discworld. This is not Nation. This is a collection of short stories published after Terry's death. We sadly lost Terry to Alzheimer's far too early, and so he is no longer with us. So to have this collection of short stories that he actually wrote when he was quite a bit younger, these almost all predate Discworld. It's so lovely to have another piece of work by him to read. So this collection of short stories, they're very, very short. I was reading one a night before I went to bed, and that was very easy to do because none of them are particularly long. They don't feel truly Terry because he isn't fully formed when he was writing these, put it that way. He's not Vimes yet. These are, however, a lovely collection of insights into how his mind works or worked, and you can see where so many of the concepts of the Discworld and later stories came from. They are very quintessentially English. So if you're an Anglophile, you would probably quite enjoy them as glimpses into a somewhat lost world of twee Englishness. I'd say the vibe is much more bromeliad than Discworld if you are familiar with Terry. And frankly, if you're familiar with Terry, you've probably already read this, so what am I even doing? If you did watch or have run off to watch my video on reading with ADHD, you'll notice this book was in my hands a lot during the filming of that video because I had started it. This is a purchase from my much visited local bookshop. We're very spoiled. We've got a great little independent bookshop in the next village over. They're fantastic and I love them to bits, so I do keep giving them my money. And this was one of them. This is this is Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. And believe it or not, despite how prolific a writer Anthony Horowitz is, this is my first foray into his work that I know of. And it's very cleverly written, which I love. I love a literary twist. This starts in modern day, but almost immediately throws you into the novel within the novel, which is set in, I think, the 1950s, post-war. And it's the novel within the novel is very Poirot, it's very Agatha Christie, and that is done on purpose. It is meant to mirror those novels. So there's a murder mystery in the novel. And then, of course, there is a murder mystery in the modern day. And the fun part is it's kind of the same person trying to solve both. So our main character, who we don't really get to know properly until after halfway through the book, is an editor. And she is missing the last chapters of a novel. So she is trying to work out how the novel would have ended. But at the same time, she is also trying to solve a death/murder mystery in current time of the author. So you get two lots of murder mysteries, two lots of story, and two lots of characters for your buck with this book. Honestly, I think I preferred the story within the story, but that's just because I do like my twee murder mysteries. However, it's extremely well written, it's very clever, and I only solved one of the two mysteries in the book, so that just goes to show it wasn't too easy to figure things out. It kept me guessing till the end. Well worth a read. You'll notice I'm going through a real murder mystery bent at the moment. I blame my mother-in-law who got me reading the Richard Osman Thursday Murder Club series, and it all went downhill from there. The next up is Susie Dent's Guilty by Definition. If you are in the UK, you will probably be familiar with Susie Dent as the resident of Dictionary Corner in Countdown, which is a game show for very smart people. Her vocabulary is insane, and that comes across a little bit in this book. I'm not going to lie, this is a book for smart people, and I feel bad saying that because I usually consider myself a smart person. But yeah, there were some words that went over my head in this and I had to look up. It's a very smart book. This was a local bookstore purchase, and not gonna lie, I enjoyed the fact that it's got shiny pages and is signed by the author. And as a bit of a Susie fan in our household, I kind of had to pick it up. It's not the easiest read. It does take a little bit of getting into, but ultimately the mystery at the heart of it is very good and very clever. I suppose I just mean to say, don't feel stupid or give up reading this because you feel stupid. It's worth continuing with, even if it is yet further proof that I will never, ever be as clever as Susie Dent. Next up is Me versus Brain by Hayley Morris. And if you watch any of my shorts, you may have seen me review this already, but I think it's worth going a bit into. This I actually put on my Christmas wish list and my parents got for me for Christmas, but I only read it last month. Some of you may be familiar with Hayley Morris from her social media. She is quite prolific on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube for having entire conversations with her brain or indeed with other parts of her body, clothing, etc. She offers quite a fresh take on life, especially life as a woman. And I find her socials to be very, very amusing and relatable and fun to watch. So I thought, she's written a book, I definitely have to check this out. I would say the book is not the same as her socials. If you go in expecting more of her socials, this is not what you're going to get. This is a little bit more intense and a little less funny. And that's not because the individual stories aren't amusing. They are. She's a little bit more honest, I think, and less varnished in humor in the book. How she relates to her brain, some of the things her brain has said and done to her over the years, is quite raw in here. So it doesn't make it a fun read. And it's also a collection of quite disjointed anecdotes rather than a coherent, linear, or linked set of stories. It's still quite relatable. It's still quite reassuring to know, you're not the only one whose brain does weird things to you. But I was honestly mostly underwhelmed with it, which I hate saying because, as I say, I very much enjoy Haley on social media. Until I got to some of the later chapters where she is talking about her experience with loss and bereavement. And as someone who has been through a very tough, hard family loss and bereavement, I was a snotty, sobbing mess in the second to last chapter. And that is just because it hit hard. I could very much relate. And seeing her experiences and feelings put into words very much echoed my own experiences. And so it both hurt but also felt vindicating. So, trigger warning, I guess. It's one of those books. It's a very quick read. It was my downstairs book, and I got through it in a few weeks. So, if you are a voracious reader who reads everything, if you enjoy Hayley Morris on socials and go into it not expecting it to be like her socials, I think you'll enjoy it. It's an enjoyable enough book. Is it a great book? No. Is it worth a read? Yeah, it is. Back on the cozy murder mystery front, this is Murder at Mary Beggar's Hall by Kay Blythe. Honestly, I didn't enjoy this book. I'm sorry, I don't like being negative about anything. I'm generally a positive person and try to find good things, but I just didn't enjoy it. Like, it was fine. It was frustrating because there is a major plot device that's super common in murder mysteries of this kind, was introduced in, I don't know, by like page 5, and then conveniently forgotten about by all characters involved until the reveal at the end, which ugh, was just frustrating. I think it's also hampered by the fact that Kay Blythe is in fact also a historian and writes historical books, and so was trying to maintain a level of accuracy surrounding British class systems in the 1920s that frankly just detracted from the storytelling of the murder mystery. The main character I am utterly indifferent to. She wasn't particularly likable. I didn't warm to her, and I am somebody, I have to be able to root for my main characters. So sorry if you like a twee murder mystery and you're an avid reader, sure, it's not going to take up a load of your time. Give it a go for yourself. Who knows? I'm happy to be corrected if any of you super enjoyed this book, but it's not one for me. On the other hand, The Grapples of Wrath by Alice Bell is the third in a series, which I picked up at my local bookstore, because on the front cover of the first book it says, "Read this book, Ben Aronovich." And I love Ben Aronovich's books. The Rivers of London series is a series I buy the new ones the minute they come out. I've been to book signings of his, and I just can't stop reading them. I love the characters, and so when he tells me to read a book, I thought, sure, I will give this a go. And the first book was brilliant. It was unique, it was different, it was relatable, it was fresh and modern, and just a very different version of a murder mystery. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I read it over the course of a weekend away in Dublin and couldn't put it down, and was disappointed when I got to the end of it. So promptly ordered the second book from my local bookstore, I enjoyed that as well. And then, so when the third one came out, I said, as soon as it comes out in paperback, can you order it in for me? Yeah, I'm one of those people that if I start collecting books in paperback, I have to get them all in paperback because I can't deal with uneven bookshelves. Hashtag pedant. So this is the third in the series so far, The Grapples of Wrath. As a, say it quietly, former wrestling fan, I found the setting of a wrestling school slash company quite amusing. And yes, did get some of the references. That's what happens when you have a younger brother in the 90s. However, I wasn't as grabbed by this book as the previous two. And I don't know if that's just because we've had the same characters now for 3 books, and I'd like to see some development in those characters. I'd like to see some progress. The main character is starting to become a bit of a wet blanket, and I am keen to see some development in their personal storylines. This felt a bit like a filler book. It's a story to keep the gang together before we go into a bit more depth with them. So hopefully the next book will be back on the upswing to the heights of the previous two. Okay, so upstairs books and downstairs books. Let me explain what I mean. I have a downstairs book. This is a book that sits on my coffee table and is there for when I collapse on the sofa and manage to successfully fight the urge to scroll my phone or turn the telly on. This is available, it's within arm's reach. It's also there if I want to curl up in. We have a reading nook downstairs, thanks to my husband who knows I am a bookworm. And so having a book visible reminds me I can go curl up on that chair with the blanket and the cat and read a book. It's my accessible downstairs book. So my books aren't out of sight, out of mind, which is a common problem with ADHD. This is constantly visible on the coffee table. It's quite a pretty book in this case, which is always nice if you're going to have a coffee table book. It just means that reading is a more accessible option when I am downstairs. My upstairs book sits by my bedside. It's on the bedside table. It's not tucked away in the pile of books on my bedside table, because yes, I am that person. This is the one that's out. It's visible. It's cover up. It's the one that I can pick up easily when I get into bed. It is the one I can focus on and spend more time on, especially if I've got a little while before bed. It's the one I'm more likely to get lost in before bed and push my bedtime out because I'm reading. So, the purpose of an upstairs book and a downstairs book is to simply make you read more. As I say, ADHD brains are very bad for out of sight, out of mind. If you put them away on a bookshelf, you are less likely to read them. If you have to think about it, if you have to consciously remind yourself to read, it's not going to happen. Whereas if your books are visible, that reminder is happening every time you see that book. You are more likely to pick it up and you are more likely to read it. It also means, because variety is the spice of life with ADHD, that I can pick 2 very different books and keep them both on the go at the same time. If I'm struggling with one, I've got another one on the go, and I don't feel bad about failing to read one. Now, obviously, upstairs and downstairs books only work if you have an upstairs and a downstairs. So, by all means, have a bedroom and a living room book, have a bedside table book and a coffee table book, whatever fits your living environment. I know a lot of people have handbag books as well. I actually don't often take a book with me unless I know I'm going to be waiting somewhere, because dog-eared or damaged books upsets me greatly, so I don't throw them in my bag too often. But if you are someone who is out and about a lot, then that can be your second book. It's worth having your bedside book and your travel book. Give it a go, see if it makes a difference for you, and if you actually do end up reading and finishing more books this way. So, my current downstairs book is yet another local bookstore purchase, and it's a bit different for me. It's Nigel Slater's A Thousand Feasts, and it is a little collection of tiny short anecdotes of him traveling the world and eating different foods in different settings. It's my downstairs book because, as mentioned, it's quite a pretty book to have on your coffee table, but it is also incredibly easy to pick it up, read the literal 2 pages of one story and be done and put it down and move on and make dinner or whatever your next thing is. I am not a foodie person, but I do like to travel and experience culture in other places. So I actually am quite enjoying it. I'm not very far into it, but it's so nice to just pick up, read for 10 minutes, and then move on. My upstairs book is the one I'm reading more of in one go. Because it's next to my bed, I am trying to, I don't always, sometimes I do default to my phone, none of us are perfect, but I am trying to pick this up more often. Now, this is Mummified by Angela Stein, and I recognize this is going to be a very niche book. I found this in the local museum, the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge, because I was working out of their cafe for a few hours. And I passed this and could not pick it up. It's very interesting. The stories behind Egyptian mummies in museums. Now, this may not be as interesting to somebody who isn't an Egyptology nerd like myself. It is a look at the presentation of mummified bodies in museums today. So we're not talking about mummies still in ancient Egypt in tombs. We are talking about museum displays and the ethics around displaying human remains in museums, but also whether we look at them as people first or as objects first, their uses over time, which is quite horrifying if you know anything about how we used mummies in the Victorian and pre-Victorian days. It talks about the stories of how mummies came to be in various museums and how they were collected, which is all, to me, absolutely incredibly fascinating. But I am a nerd, so I recognise this isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea. So that's it. Proof that my tips on reading with ADHD not only work, they mean I have very much increased my reading recently, and also an explanation of upstairs books and downstairs books. As I said in the beginning of the video, this has been a quieter episode this week where we looked at books and how they impact my experience of slow living. Sometimes we all do need a quiet week. Next week, we will be looking at change and how much of ourselves we do or do not need to change in order to adopt a slow living lifestyle. Hope you'll join me for that one. Hope you enjoyed a quick little look at my reading list. Do drop any recommendations or thoughts on the books in the comments. I love to talk reading, I love to talk books, and if this is of interest to people, I will do another video in a few more months with the next pile. Thanks for watching. I'm Becca, I talk too much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!